Welcome to Basically Sci-Fi, the short story podcast with stories you can basically call sci-fi. I'm Adam.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Todd. And thank you for commenting, and subscribing ahead of time.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, gentlemen.
Well, good morning.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Have you ever seen a movie that is a science fiction reimagining of an older movie or story?
I believe so, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I mean, yeah, everyone knows about Star Wars being basically a samurai movie.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that. Or like Avatar is basically, what's that movie? Pocahontas in space.
Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves?
Yeah. Avatar is exactly Dances with Wolves.
I thought it was like Pocahontas. No?
No. I believe you are. I haven't seen Avatar since I saw it in the theaters because it was an awful movie, but yeah, it's definitely Dances with Wolves.
And it's a movie, so I haven't seen it either.
The outsider goes in and joins the Native American tribe to fight against the colonial oppressors, you know.
The Last Samurai.
Yeah, where Tom Cruise brings Scientology to Japan.
Yeah. I mean, you can do any kind of there's only so many different types of stories in the world, and then you put it in a setting, and sometimes that setting is sci-fi.
Very true. I'm thinking about stuff that's a little bit more like on the nose, like
directly they say that this is the Iliad and the Odyssey, but in space.
Yeah, like Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan is apparently like it heavily leans into Moby Dick. The Enterprise is Khan's Moby Dick, basically, and he actually word for word quotes Moby Dick like twice in the movie, apparently.
Yeah, it is Star Trek, so they like to quote classical literature. In Star
I don't remember
Trek,
Khan being a Quaker, though.
So what stories would you like to see get changed into science fiction adaptations? Like, like The Lion King in space with a bunch of funny little alien dudes?
I don't know what the point of that would be, because the lion's already a non-human, but something I would like to see be made sci-fi?
Dirty Dancing in space.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie in a long time either.
To make it funny, or do you think that would add to the drama? Like, in a town where there's no dancing or oxygen. A young couple.
Oh, it's Footloose in
I actually
space.
just thought of another one I saw recently. Was the Alfred Hitchcock movie Lifeboat. There was a sci-fi adaptation of it that was called Life Pod, where they were on an escape pod instead of a lifeboat. So it was extremely on the nose, except for the little people, and
there were little people?
It was an awful movie, but I enjoyed it because it was an awful movie.
Well, then there you go. They should just do all of Hitchcock. Let's get the birds.
Yeah, the birds in space.
Oh God, space birds.
They all just die in the vacuum of space, and there is no threat. It's just a normal day, except they come across a flock of dead birds.
That life pod thing seems like it might actually make the original film. Like, I feel like it doesn't improve upon the original film,
Well, no, you can't improve upon Hitchcock, really. Like, they've tried. They've done adaptations of tons of his work. Like, they did a remake of Psycho some time ago. That was like a shot-for-shot remake. But I think that was the director trying to prove a point that there was no need to remake Hitchcock movies.
Yeah, remaking and changing the setting, I don't think that's improving upon. I don't think there's a reason to change the setting to sci-fi.
My thing with remakes is, like, if you want to remake a movie, remake a bad movie and make it good.
Yeah.
Like the movie The Thing. That's a remake of The Thing from Outer Space, which is a terrible 50s sci-fi movie. And then John Carpenter remade it, and it's an incredible horror movie with just completely overshadows its predecessor to the point that a lot of people don't know that it's a remake.
Yeah, I had no idea The Thing was a remake. No idea at all.
Yep. That's always been my stance on remakes, though. They should remake bad movies, not good ones. There's no need to remake a good movie.
The Stallone version of the Judge Dredd remade into the new one. The new one, in my opinion, is far and above better.
Yeah, no, the new one is a lot better. They did the comic book a lot of justice with that, at least in my opinion. But the Stallone one was terrible, so that wasn't hard to achieve.
Oh, speaking of remakes, I may or may not have made a remake myself this week.
Okay.
And you have some homework. Not homework, a quiz, actually. Tell me what story you think I remade at the end. Dear listeners, also take notes. Let's see if we can't figure out what story I wrote. Or rewrote.
Yeah, but if you're driving, don't let go of the steering wheel, you know?
That's okay. Jesus will take the wheel. This week, my story's name is a Buick in Space.
Okay.
Jim Cranis had always felt like the land his family lived on had gone to waste. But now, it was actually going to be of some use to humanity.
Grapes of Wrath, right?
What? Grapes of Wrath!
Okay. Anyways.
The midday sun beat down on him as he sipped a lemonade and reclined in his plastic lawn chair, bare feet in the grass. His family's estate stretched out before him, his house being situated on a hill overlooking a mostly flat few hundred acres of grass, subdivided by wire fences keeping the cows from treading on the chickens and the goats. There was a little barn for the chickens, and a nice few sheds here and there for the cows with soft straw for flooring, and a low squat building with a dozen little doors for the goats. The goat, G-O-A-T, painted in all caps, emblazoned the side of a steel bullet the size of a Buick. Jim looked over his work with satisfaction. A chicken wearing a pink collar pecked at a bare patch of dirt nearby. "Well, Chimkin, they said it couldn't be done, but look at me now." I know you were. I'm sorry. Jim said to the chicken. He reached over and picked her up. Chimkin looked over the contraption with her critical chicken gaze. She softly buck-bucked. "The TSA can't keep me out of the sky forever, Chimkin. No, they can't. This here's a free country. And now that the wrongful death settlement finally went through and I got Mac working in the shop this weekend, I'm going to show these government stiffs who's really a domestic terrorist." The chicken turned its head, one eye on Jim, one eye on the steel bullet. Its waddle jiggling with every sharp avian movement. Jim looked down at his watch, appraised the time, and figured, better now than later. He got out of the chair and went into the house. Half an hour is all it took for him to get ready for his flight. He'd thrown on a second-hand flight jacket over his blue denim overalls, packed a bag full of snacks and amenities for a flight, and hung his camera on his neck. He came back out of the one-story ranch-style house with the chicken in his hand and went over to the steel bullet, grabbed a handle, sat into the side, and opened the door. He carefully put the chicken in. There were 2 seats inside with an acrylic window glued in to cover a hole cut into the far side. There was a biker's helmet in one seat and a small helmet fashioned out of beer cans and rubber bands. In good old American ingenuity. He put the small helmet on the chicken. He put the camera in the seat next to the chicken. "Look after this a sec, Chimkin. I'ma need it to get that round earther of a president to open his eyes." Jim gave the vehicle a walk around, looking at the rivets that glinted in the sun. The goat sat on a sled made out of a car frame and wheels, which itself was on a long wooden ramp stretching 400 meters and sloping up so the goat would fly good and true over the tree line. On either side of the ramp was a tube wrapped in tons and tons of copper wire. Jim went back into his house, got his extension cord from the garage, and plugged it into the outlet, carried the other end out to the ramp, and connected the tube to the city's power grid. He got in the goat, put his helmet on, and buckled himself and the chicken into the seats. "All right, Chimkin. This ramp ought to put me up in them clouds long enough to get a few shots and land me back in the White House lawn." He picked up the camera, taped his Pro 900mm straight edge level to the acrylic window, and shut the door. His cell phone rang. He looked at it, and it was Mac. No time for that guy now, so he let it go to voicemail and carefully pressed the big red button on the otherwise featureless flight console in front of him. All across the state of Kansas, unbeknownst to Jim, people were panicking as the major cities experienced rolling blackouts. Magnetic energy took hold of the goat and sent it rocketing along its wooden ramp. Jim was thrown back into his seat, and his vision started to go brown. As the steel bullet started to rise above the clouds, he fought with the G-forces to try and take a few pictures through the window. To his horror, the vehicle didn't start falling back to Earth like he had expected. It kept going. As it rose into space, the air got thinner inside the poorly sealed steel bullet. "Ain't got no curve," he said, blacking out. The sphere of Earth fell away beneath him as Jim accidentally became Earth's first hobbyist astronaut. The steel bullet passed the moon with great speed and found that just beyond the dark side of the moon, there were two massive golden 8-sided constructs sitting side by side in space. The bullet tumbled between them on its flight. There was a flash of light, and the steel bullet named Goat disappeared from view. Jim awoke to a loud rumbling noise. He'd tried to stand up. He couldn't. Oh yeah, he was buckled in. How long had he been asleep? He looked over at the chicken, who was unfazed by the hull of the steel bullet slowly heating up. Jim looked out the window and could see the earth beneath, towards which he was falling. The craft made its descent through the clouds and landed, cratering a hill in the middle of nowhere. Jimkin, now that's what I call doing your own research. Jim reached into his backpack and pulled out a beer. He opened it to get a face full of foam. Not giving two shits, he took a swig. It was warm, but damn if it wasn't satisfying in this moment. He unbuckled himself with reckless abandon, carefully undid the harness on the chicken, and threw the door open and leapt out. Exiting the craft, he ran right into a body. An upright body, not a dead body. It was tall. Taller than he, and naked from the waist up and covered in sweat. Jim got a mouthful of sweat in the collision, and he staggered back, clutching the chicken in one hand. The tall thing was green, its skin blotted with darker green patches here and there. Its sweat was oily and glistened in the midday sun. Two suns. Now that Jim got a second to look, there were two suns. The green thing made a horrible wailing noise. It's over. It's all over. You interrupted the king's shouting, and we're all destined to fight to the death. The fact that this being spoke in English didn't even faze Jim. All respectable folk know English. He knew that from his education. Its greenness really gave him a shock at first, though. But it was crying, and that was no good. What's the matter, my, good green man? What's all this about a king shouting? We ain't got no kings in the U.S. of A. Look around, the green man said between loud blows of his great big hooked nose. Jim could see from the hilltop that there were a whole lot of flat land around. Oh, and yes, there was another hill nearby. Look at that. It seemed to have two figures standing on it, one shorter and one taller. The shorter one carrying something quite shiny. Behind the hill looked to Jim to be a crowd. He looked down and noticed a bit of opulent red cloth peeking out from under the steel bullet. He walked around to the other side and stood baffled by the sight of millions of little green, pot-bellied men. They looked up at him and rattled their sabers and shields. Jimkin, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. The end.
The end? Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeehaw.
Science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, science fiction,
Yep.
every word of it.
Yep.
Because fictional science will get your tinfoil rocket up into space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still think it's an adaptation of The Grapes of Wrath, but
Well,
I was
judging by that
tempted for a
ending-
moment to say Animal Farm, though. So, one of those two.
Oh, because of all the animals on the farm?
Yeah. That's the only reason. And there was a big sign that said goat. And, it's not a literal translation.
Oh, what is it?
There's a big sign on the...
the...
It's been so long since I read that book. I don't remember what the...
Each, according to their ability, something,
Yeah.
the pigs
Yeah.
are more equal.
Yeah.
greatest of all time.
Yep.
All right, so what stories do you think I used to make this one besides The Grapes of Wrath?
Probably The Wizard of Oz could have been the last line.
I guess, or Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Something.
That sounds about
You got your guy going to an isekai, just like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, so I gotta say that this is actually in the universe of the Buck story.
Well, yeah, I was really happy to hear Mac being referenced because I know that your other story you said the end, but I was like, what about Mac? He didn't do anything. So I'm happy that he exists again.
Yeah.
He exists again.
Sure.
So Mac is a brain cell, and his boss is a flat earther. So there's that. 'Cause this guy is the boss of the fucking community he works at.
He's gonna go show those round earthers what's up.
I gave Mac a bit more credit than that. I thought he was potentially gonna end up there, but thank goodness he got abducted by aliens before he could become a true brain cell.
Yeah.
He got his brain blast
Yeah.
from the brain cell subreddit.
And his boss didn't didn't actually appear in the other episode? Like, he didn't have spoken dialogue? Because
He did not.
I mean,
No.
it doesn't matter now, but I don't remember him having a hillbilly accent.
There is a bit about the boss's uncle falling into a vat of latex during a tour at a condom factory.
No, I remember him getting the wrongful
yeah.
death money to open his convenience store.
That's right.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
remember that. But about this story, right? About this story, very funny, of course. I
Yeah.
like you know my key terms. You just need to say domestic terrorist, flat Earth,
Yep.
and I'm invested.
Domestic terrorists, flat Earth, literal potbelly goblins.
Yep.
Who all
Damn it! I knew that's what they were.
Yeah. And they all represent the Lollipop Guild.
Oh,
Did he land on the king? You said that he found some like red fabric.
He landed on the other
Beneath.
Wicked Witch, obviously.
yeah. Because since it is a reference to, not a reference, it's a retelling
Yeah.
of The Wizard of Oz. I've of course, that's the iconic scene where the house lands on that one lady.
I really hope that Joe Biden is the wizard.
That's an idea. All right. Well, thank you for taking a listen to my story this week.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
it's good.
If you haven't by now, then like, comment, and subscribe again.
Be careful that hitting the subscribe button twice makes you unsubscribe. And thanks for listening. Thanks to Jared for the art. And next week you'll be hearing from Jared with a story.
All
Yeah,
right.
which will be the last story for Basically Sci-Fi, I believe.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Ooh.
so I'm finishing up my story next week, so
excellent.
yeah.
Very exciting.
And we'll have more announcements about that on the way. Well, I'm sure we'll go into it in a little more detail next week about what's going to be happening. We are still doing a podcast. We're just wrapping up the way it works right now. So, yeah.
Look forward to it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.